Hello guys, welcome to the Trend Parrot. There are tons of indicators in TradingView that offer to draw trend lines, but which ones of them are the best ones, the most reliable, and you can use for your daily trading, scalping, for confirmation of a trend, or why not to complement the trend lines that you draw yourself. In this video, we're going to review 10 different indicators that are freely available on TradingView. I'm going to show you one by one the ones that I like the most. None of these indicators are repainting. I will show you the different styles of trend lines that you can obtain with each of these indicators. I'll let you know which ones offer alerts, which ones are open source. I'll make sure you understand what sort of expectations you can have from each one of them. I will also put an emphasis on which ones I find more easy to trade. I'll give you some examples of how I will trade them, including risk management. Where will I position the stop loss? Some of them also offer signals from when the breakouts are occurring. If they do so, I will also flag which ones I believe are really good. And I'm also going to mention the parameters that they offer, how flexible they are. All of these trend lines can be drawn on different time frames. By the end of the video, you're probably going to have a good understanding of which ones are the best indicators to use for drawing trend lines to complement your daily trading. We're going to be reviewing which trend lines are drawn by each of these indicators, always in the same area of the chart. In some cases, I will use replay function in TradingView to show how it behaves in real time. And that's going to be very useful for me to show you that there is no repainting issues, or at least that I haven't seen any. The first one that we're going to be looking into is called Trendlines with breaks from Lux. It's built by Lux Algo and is extremely popular, over 7,000 likes. Interestingly, it comes with all the source code and even separate alert conditions for breaking down and breaking above the trend line. I find very tradable this particular one. I really like trend lines that they are crossing the price action in this way. As I show you the next indicators, you're going to notice that many other indicators, they just draw trend lines around the top and many trend lines around the bottom, and they only cross the trend line when there is a significant change in the trend, which makes it very difficult to scalp or do swing trading in between. This particular one offers loads of opportunities to trade trend lines. We are on the 4-hour, but the story repeats even if you go to the 5 minutes or the 15 minutes. For example, here I just changed to weekly, and you can see that there's a breakout right there to the upside. There are breakdowns around here and there with a buy signal as well. And I think that applies to all the indicators that we're going to be looking into today. I will personally ignore the buy and the sell signals from this indicator, and the reason is because my personal preference to trade breakouts is to see a confirmation. We can see here in this particular area of the chart, there's a very nice confirmation of the breakout. Let's zoom in a bit. The price remains below the trend line. Eventually, it tests the trend line. It manages to get above it, and then it confirms on this candle to the upside that it has actually broke it successfully. From this area there, I will have taken a trade to the upside. In this other case, we can see that this is a strong area of resistance. More aggressive traders will have taken probably a trade right there on the first green candle without any confirmation. This constitutes all the confirmation that you actually get, a small pullback to the downside, but there is no touch on the trend line to confirm, which is what I prefer being a more conservative trader. You can see the buy signal on this one triggers as soon as a green candle is closing above the trend line, but most of the candle is below the trend line. So personally, I find it too aggressive to open a long right there. So that was trend lines with breaks from Lux. The next one is called just trend lines. As you can see, this has a completely different style from the previous indicator. It's mostly drawing support trend lines. There is a resistance one here once the trend is broken from here. Personally, I identify only two big areas where I could have taken a trade from these trend lines. A trade right there when we break below, that's also a market structure break, and this will have been a great position to take a short. Even though I find useful this indicator, I find it a little bit more difficult to find entries. I'm usually finding myself having to zoom out too much to find something that I will personally feel comfortable trading. Trendlines is built by Duik. The indicator is from 2019 and it's got almost 6,000 likes. So it's pretty popular too. It's also open source and it also supports alerts. This one was called Trendlines. The next one is called Trendlines 2x Plus. You can see this is a little bit more similar to the first one that we were seeing. If we compare it with Trendlines with breaks, the first one that we were reviewing, there are some similarities in the style of trendlines that are being found. It looks a little bit more busy, but a little bit more busy doesn't necessarily mean a bad indicator. I'm still finding the same opportunities around here, for example, or the levels of support. Once they're broken, you can see clearly the breakdown. I have the feeling that the majority of these trend lines that are being drawn there, they are just short-term trying to find levels of support and resistance. They are not necessarily looking back in time enough to find touching points very in the past. Trendlines 2x is built by Leech MC. It's got 3,000 likes, open source. It supports alerts and it's got a ton of parameters to play with. I will say that this is a pretty advanced one. If you want to play with it, you're going to spend hours finding different ways of drawing the trend line. Pretty cool. Congratulations to the author. I have a very good fun, playing with all the parameters. The next one is pretty cool, very colorful, as you can see, and it's a completely different style from all the other indicators that we have seen so far. In this case, it's drawing the most popular technical analysis patterns in trading. For example, rising wedge, downtrend channel, uptrend channel, falling wedge, contracting triangle, and so on. Some of the patterns are very small and some of them are containing the whole price action. But how can you trade this? Not all the patterns you need to trade them. You have to visualize what you see as an opportunity. Personally, I find in here, in this downtrend channel, an opportunity. This is actually a bullish pattern. You can search on Google for the name of each of the patterns and you're going to find the ratio of success that they have for bullish case and for bearish case. Each one of them, they have a bias, which means that they have a highest likelihood to break in a specific direction. In this case, this downtrend channel has a good likelihood to break to the upside. So if we do replay around here, you're going to notice that the pattern is still not drawn. Does it mean that it repaints? In this case, it's not repainting. It just means that there will be around here a candle that triggers the pattern. And once the pattern is drawn on candle close, the pattern doesn't disappear or it doesn't get modified by the algorithm, which will constitute repainting. But as I say, in this case, that doesn't happen, which is good. If I let the replay go a little bit further, on the next candle, we're going to see that the pattern appears. So the calculation needed this pattern to find the whole channel, and that's why the channel appears. Once we see the pattern drawn and we understand what is the bias of this pattern, in this case is bullish, we can be ready and prepared to take a trade. The most aggressive traders, they're going to be looking for a break over this trend line. That means that the closing of the price needs to be above this trend line. More conservative traders like me, I will be looking for a breakout and a retest of the trend line. Here's a downside of this indicator. This indicator stops plotting line there, which is a shame because it's a great indicator, but you have to extend it manually to help you understand when the breakout occurs. This is the actual breakout. This is the time the candle closes. It's a big green candle. Most aggressive traders will have taken already a trade when this candle is close above this line. Now let's see if we get a confirmation. In this case, the only confirmation that we get is that the second candle, which also closes in green, comes back down to there. That's as close as you get from a confirmation. At this point there, on this candle close, I will have taken a long. Let's keep looking at the rest of the indicators and then I'll let you know how I prefer to place the stop loss using the ATR SL indicator. I'll explain all of that at the end of the video. Trendline pairs also offer quite a lot of parameters. It's built by he who must not be named. It's got 1.2k likes. It's not open source and it doesn't offer alerts. The next one is called Trendline Function JD. It looks way less busy than the one before, and it seems to also follow the style of surrounding the price with the trend lines rather than crossing the price with the trend lines. We can see a clear distinction in the styling of the trend lines drawn by the different indicators. Which one resonates more with your trading style, that's totally up to you. Personally, I prefer the ones that they cross the price. You can find more trades, the ones that they don't cross the price. When they do cross the price, that's usually a higher quality trade to take. Trendline function JD is built by Duik as well. It's the same author as one of the ones before. It's got 1K likes. It's open source and it doesn't offer alerts. The next one is called Trendlines with alerts. As the name implies, it contains alerts. It's actually strategy, not necessarily very successful in the area that I'm trading. The style of Trendlines pick here is completely different to any other indicator we have seen so far. They fully surround the price and it's not very clear to me where some of the lines are pointing to. Sometimes you have to extend manually the line to find sense in some of these lines. I find it personally a little bit difficult to trade, but I still wanted to mention it to you. It's built by Punit Guy, it's open source, and since it's a strategy, you can also use alerts. The next one is also called Trendlines. It also follows the styling of plotting around the price rather than crossing the price. It's pretty easy to see the trend lines where they're being plotted, but you definitely need to zoom in because it gets pretty busy as well. The indicator is built by Fabilance On, got 600 likes. It's not open source and it doesn't offer alerts. The next one is called Trendlines Breaks with Superichi Cloud. It's built by World of Indicators. It's getting to 500 likes. It's open source and it supports alerts. It seems to be just a copy of Trendlines with breaks from Lux, just adding a few extra things like the Ichimoku Cloud. The next one is pretty interesting. It's called Trendlines Torys. It's built by Matsu Bitmex with 4,000 likes. So this one is more popular as well. And you can see that the trend lines are not fully drawn in the chart, potentially to keep the chart a bit clean. Instead of that, it's plotting the higher highs, the lower lows. But you can see that if you connect the dots, you get the full length trend line like that one. You get shorts and long signals. I wish there was a way to enable in the indicator to show the full history of the line. That for me is a must. But if you're okay trading the trend lines like this is a good option as well. The last one I'm going to show you is called Auto Trendline KL. It's built by Doji Emoji with 3,000 likes. It's also open source and it's got alert. If you go to settings, you can show the crosses, which are the buys and the sells. You can decide how many lines you want drawn, which can go from 1 to potentially any arbitrary number. I'm here trying with 100, which becomes a real mess, but you have to find the number that works best for you. The most recent trend lines are drawn on a different color, so you can focus on the current price action, which is really cool. And you can change the fractal period. For example, here I change it to 20. And now the trend lines are of much better quality. This trend line there is a trend line that I will be happy to find myself. So it depends. If you're using a very high number here, probably you're going to get better quality trend lines and also longer term ones. If we go with a smaller fractal period, you're just going to be focusing on the recent price action, but not necessarily very high quality ones. So let's use this indicator as well to explain some tricks that you can use also to take positions, because it's not just a matter of going with leverage and opening a position as soon as you cross the trend line and not using any risk management. That's actually the perfect recipe to fail using trend lines. So then how you do it? There's nothing I can tell you really that is going to replace practice. Practice in trend lines makes the master. You have to do a lot of practice, and for that, your best friend is going to be the replay button. You can initially start with that, with the replay button, because that's going to teach you a lot in a very condensed amount of time. You can always go back 3 months in time, put the trend lines there without looking at the future of the price, and then using these two tools from the drawing panel, whether you're going to take a short or you're going to take a long. You can also select where you want to place the stop loss and where you want to place your take profit. When you're practicing, you're going to have to decide where to place your stop loss. Many people do the following technique. They find the recent swing low and they place the stop loss right below that. Then they move the take profit until the ratio shows 1.5, depending on what's your risk appetite. It's very common to see people doing 1.5 as a ratio. That is just one of hundreds of different ways to place your stop loss and to do your own risk management. No matter how much time you spend trying to find which trend lines are the best, the ugly truth is that it matters much more what is the quality of your risk management strategy rather than what is the actual entry. A good risk management strategy can allow you to stay profitable even if your win rate is below 40%. And that's incredible. Of course, we want a higher win rate, but bad risk management can kill any good win rate. A second option that I'm going to give you to place your stop loss is to use this indicator called ATRSL. It's built by Bahadir Kisbet. It's not necessarily very popular, but I find very useful that plots the ATR on the upside and on the downside. But in order to get that, you need to tick both sides. You can select the chart and the time frame. You might be trading on the 4-hour, but maybe you want to do ATR on the 1 day. And as you can see, that draws the dots a little bit further away from the price. But what is the ATR? ATR is an indicator that calculates the volatility of the price in the recent candle. You can see that it's plotting like a band around the price depending on the volatility. When the volatility grows, the dots are going to get further away from the price. And those are the areas that you can use for the stop loss. You could use precisely the location of the ATR, or you could multiply it by 2. Some people, and personally, I do a lot using twice the ATR. So if the ATR is around there, which is 1.5%, you can place it at 3% below. Now, if you do that, you have to adjust as well the take profit to maintain the ratio, in this case 1.5. That's another way to place the stop loss. Another one is identify the ATR of the last 10 candles and look for the one that is furthest away from you. In this case, this one right there. Then again, you need to adjust this to be 1.5. And you can see it's a stretch, but that is the last time that you can take profit before this dumps. All of that from the breakout from this trend line. The stop loss is a little bit too far from my taste, but this still worked out in this case. Alright guys, I hope you enjoy looking at all these different trendline indicators that you can use. Let me know which one you found more useful, and also let me know if you have found an even better trendline indicator on TradingView. If you find this content useful, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. That's really useful for the channel. But if you want to do the one thing that can help the most this channel, that is leave comment. Leave any comment in this video and that's gonna help us massively. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye bye.